All right, we ready?
Yep.
Let's rock and roll. Here we go. Hello and welcome into the Section 109 podcast. Matthew, Saturday fucking ruled. I'm here from Studio Breezy. This is Breezy. I'm here with Matthew. Mix, Toby's here somewhere. There's no Ella here to keep the dogs at bay, so we may have some moments. But we're here with Pablo Juan as well. And we're here to talk about Saturday's doubleheader with a combined score of 8-0. But we're talking about the first game first. The second game first. The men's game that ended 1-0. All good vibes around. Beating the second team in the table, Maryland. Matthew, how are you feeling about our 1-0 win versus Maryland?
I think if you've seen CFC play, all right, there you go.
It's a kombucha.
If you've seen CFC,
I drank too much this weekend and didn't drink anything but a kombucha. Keep going.
If you've seen CFC play the last few matches, one of which we actually didn't see them play at all.
Fuck you, Rochester.
You'll notice that you've seen one game, you've kind of seen all of them.
What do you mean
recently. By that? They've all fallen kind of similarly. Whoever the opponent is doesn't create a whole lot. Usually sits back. Tries to get some numbers forward occasionally, but struggles to keep possession for long periods of time. Has a couple shots, but nothing's ever super dangerous, super worrying. And then on the flip side, CFC has a ton of possession, is looking to probe, is looking to play between lines and gaps. Sometimes does it well, sometimes doesn't do it so well. Is trying to invite teams to pressure the center backs to kind of create more space. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And then you get kind of a little moment of magic.
Speaking of moments of magic,
be it, in this specific case, a Markus free kick, or apparently a Markus rocket from the Rochester game last weekend. Maybe it's a nice header, finally some good combination play. We're able to break out a little bit. And the Albion game's a little bit different, just because they cannot physically do anything else other than try to play, and it just opens things up a little bit. But it's just these games of kind of, exactly what's going to happen. I guess is my point. And you also if you're as a CFC fan, I look at the game and I'm like, oh, I wish we created a little bit more, but defensively we're great. How many games in a row have I said that for?
A lot.
No Luis Garcia Sosa.
No Taylor Gray
on the weekend. No Taylor Gray. Damian didn't play either for the third consecutive game. We kind of know what we are right now, with who we're missing, to be clear, and it's just a team that grinds games out.
Interesting.
And we grinded out games, last week and the week before, and that's just where we are.
Yeah, I think I agree with most of that. I would also like to pivot before we go to the lineups, and we'll do our normal kind of order here. But before we get the lineups, I want to talk about the concussion substitute, because I think a lot of people, myself included, were like, what the fuck is going on? Tell us about it, Matthew.
Yeah, so actually, here's the interesting part. Concussion substitutes were a thing in 2021. I think NISA, along with the rest of U.S. soccer, was trialing them.
Correctly, by the way.
For
one of the few things that I think you and I would give credit to U.S. Soccer and NISA for. I mean, I've talked a lot of shit about both of them, but concussion substitutes are good. They should exist. They should be a thing, and I'm very, very happy to see one, and I will say nothing else negative about them in this circumstance.
So, I guess where the weird thing here is, U.S. Soccer had the professional leagues trialing concussion subs for IFAB and FIFA.
Mm-hmm.
But MLS is not using concussion substitutes this year. IFAB was okay, thanks for your help, but actually don't ever use them again. We're not implementing these into the laws of the game. Don't use them. And NISA's just whatever, it's fine.
So I'm going to give NISA a little credit here, assuming that's the case, which I didn't actually know.
So
the history of that.
my guess is it's not like NISA just being like, fuck IFAB, we're doing this for the good of the players and whatever. I'm pretty sure NISA just didn't bother to like look up the policy email that came through, and it's just like on their way doing it, just like, because they didn't change a policy or something.
I'm going to do a first for this podcast. I don't care why they're doing them, as long as they're doing them.
It's good. Like it should be done. Like,
and so if it's incompetence, the outcome is correct, and okay, I'm cool with it in this one case. And if it is a principled stand, which I think they would tell you it's a principled stand, even if it's probably not, I'm also okay with it, because look, the thing that happened in the World Cup final a few years ago with Christoph Kramer getting absolutely bludgeoned in the head, coming out for 30 seconds or a minute or whatever, them doing a concussion protocol, him saying I'm fine, and them sending him back in, and then him not remembering playing in that game is unacceptable.
Yeah.
And the problem with head injuries, for anyone who doesn't know, they go off and they do a concussion protocol. Well, a concussion protocol could take a few minutes to really get a good, and you if the player and the team are now playing a man down or a player down, it is a problem, because that player is going to want to get back into the game. They're always going to want to get back into the game, but especially not leaving their team a man down. So there's going to be a risk that you do a not good screen, that the doctor is pressured, whatever else, to not get a good, accurate reading of if somebody has a head injury. So taking that extra time for head injuries, which are much more dangerous than most other injuries for longevity of life, and doing the proper screening there, it's good. So what happened is Beto came out after being down for a while, holding his head. And he was out for, I didn't actually count, but probably 3 minutes, give or take.
He was only out actually for maybe a minute and 15, 20 seconds total.
And Sebastian Capozzucci went in for him. They did a full concussion protocol on him and made sure they felt like he did not have a real concussion. And that was their belief. And they had him on the side of the field with, I don't know what the actual time limits are, if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever the times. I think there is a time that it runs out in.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we actually,
where the substitution becomes permanent. I mean.
With the I don't know that answer.
I don't know
that answer either. Like they obviously did not run a full scale test, because apparently I guess he passed enough of the things they didn't need to. Because a full test can run 10 minutes or so.
But what I'm saying is they had the time to run whatever test they needed.
Yeah.
Because Sebastian was able to go in, start playing. We were not down a man. And then once they found out, like, okay, he's okay, he does not just walking this off, like he's okay, they sent him back in the game, and Sebastian Capozzucci came out, and then like 5 or 7 minutes or 10 minutes later, whatever it was, Sebastian actually just subbed in for Beto.
Yeah.
But that is how concussion subs should work. They should have the ability to have whatever time the doctor deems necessary to look at the player, to deem if they have a head injury or not, and to deem if they are fit to play or not. That's good. It is one moment of many terrible moments that NISA has had, and it's one good moment out of all those terrible moments, and I will give them credit, whether it's on purpose or not. I love it. I'm happy for it. It's the first time I've ever seen it during a game I was watching that I can remember, and it's for sure the first time I've seen it for CFC. So I love it. I was happy with it. And so now, if you didn't know why there was an in and out substitute, and by the way, Gabe had no idea on the broadcast why it was coming in and coming out, and Zeka was very confused as well. And they got it right eventually while talking through it. But you could just tell it was like nobody knew what was going on because it wasn't being communicated. And I love it. If anybody's listening that didn't see it and didn't know why, now you do. And I would like to go straight into the lineups. Matthew, are you ready?
Yeah. So honestly, it's the same as Wednesday's game against Albion. Jean-Antoine in goal, Stripling, Prepelica, Bowers, Perez across the back line, Dixon, Alvarenga, and McGrath in midfield, Mwape, Louis, and Nagelstad as your forward line.
You know how I did the original writing of this?
It's got the little weird doohickeys on it.
Because it has the proper accents on Prepelica's name. Keep going.
Not that I would be able to, translate that or at all.
No, I just have remaining as a keyboard on my phone, so I can autocorrect to make sure I spell it correctly, and then it adds the accents.
That's funny.
That is my hack.
So I've got Capozzucci listed for about a minute of play time during the concussion sub, and then he gets subbed back in already into stoppage time.
That's midfielder Capozzucci to you. Sebastian Capozzucci holding midfielder.
Yeah. And then Lenny Lopez spelled Markus with about a minute, maybe 2 minutes left in stoppage time.
The guy with maybe the best song currently on the roster. Lenny.
Yeah, it's good.
Lopez, won't you score a goal?
It's excellent.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good that a certain segment of people burst into it every time they see him on the at the bar, and I feel like he's got to be like, guys, this is weird, but it's just so good. It's so good, and it's not. By the way, it's not me. I will join in. I'm not the one who starts it, but every time it starts, I do join in because it's so good. Markus scores in the 62nd minute. So we had two substitutes in this game. one substitute twice for a concussion, and then one substitute in the 90th minute. Matthew, how do you feel about that substitution pattern?
I mean, like, so look at the listed substitutes on the bench. Who was available? You've got Jonathan Burke, and I'm scrolling to get there right now. But you've got Jonathan Burke, the keeper. You've got Jung Woo-so, who's kind of a utility defender, midfielder type player at this point in time. Like, strictly Colin Stripling's backup.
So while you're looking at that, I disagree a little bit. I think he is only currently a right back, even though right back plays midfield as well, because we have not seen him play any other position. I agree that potentially, based on his college play and whatever else, he could and should be able to play other positions. But right now, we have only ever seen him at one position, so he's the backup right back.
So I just don't think he will. You've got Capizzucci. Garcia Sosa was back on the bench, which is nice to see. Obviously, Lenny. Hugo Martinez, Fabian Rodriguez, who've been on the bench pretty much every home game this season.
It's academy player, Fabian Rodriguez.
And then you've got Damian Rodriguez was back listed in the substitutes after missing a couple games. So you've got, but like think about two players that have started some games for us this year in terms of Damian Rodriguez and Luis Garcia Sosa. And I realize that Jung Woo-so has as well, but like let me focus on Rodriguez and Garcia Sosa. Think about the type of players they are. They're both a little bit like diminutive, creative players. You want them to help like unlock teams, like break things down. And they're both also coming off of injury. Maybe it's precaution, maybe it's whatever, but like they're both coming off of some sort of injury and they're not starting. Is it likely you're going to see either one of those guys put into a game which is fairly physical? I mean, Alvarenga's head injury or whatever, is a second yellow card to Manny Gonzalez of Maryland Bobcats.
Well-deserved. Should have had a second yellow before that, to be clear.
So it's a super physical game. You're already up a goal. You're trying to shut things down. There's a reason why you sub on Lenny and Capizzucci and you leave out Garcia Sosa and
because you don't want to risk more injuries because now we are banged up.
And you're probably not, unless like things get desperate, no offense, like you're not going to bring on Hugo Martinez or Fabian Rodriguez.
Because you're not chasing a goal.
You're not chasing a goal.
You want Lenny to go do Lenny shit, which is to be big and strong and run after the ball and provide fresh legs, which he did, by the way, bringing him into the wall for Markus. By the way, first of all, can we talk about Markus? I love you so much. He pretends he can't hear him for the whole first part of the sub. So they're wasting all this time. And I don't care what Markus says. There's no way he didn't hear him. Sorry, guys. My voice is destroyed from Saturday. And so he's just standing there. And he is the not the fulcrum. He is the edge of that wall. Sorry. He's the edge of that wall. So obviously he cannot leave and risk a free kick being taken. So he pretends he can't hear him. And eventually when the referee figures out who he's supposed to be coming out for it, then Markus is like, can I go? Wait, are you going to wait? Can I go? Are you going to wait? No, are we going to wait or not? It was the most beautiful waste of 25 seconds. It was spectacular gamesmanship. And then you put in an even taller player onto the edge of that wall, which made me very happy how that worked out.
Yeah, also that was a 9-yard wall. I actually went back and counted. It was a 9-yard wall.
Also, Darwin Espinal is very sneaky. He moved that ball about 4 yards from where the referee originally put down the ball, that motherfucker. Also, on the free kick that Markus had on the edge, I'll get back to that in a second. Keep going. Lenny comes in and does exactly what you want him to do. Provide physical presence, and guess what? You're not gonna win a physical battle with fresh-legged Lenny on the field, and same with Capizzucci. It's the perfect substitutes for that.
Yeah, and like Jung Woo-so is not going to sub in because the only place he's played is right back,
and you're not going to bring him in for Colin, who's already the physical guy.
Because you're not moving around your back four.
No, and Colin, you're bringing in guys that are filling in. And actually, you're playing 2 center backs, or 3 center backs, almost side by side in front of that defense. With Colin, Capizzucci, and Richard Dixon.
Yeah, so you're out. Like, Juan Louis would be an excellent substitute if he wasn't already starting. A change of pace winger type player,
and someone who's, while he's not huge, is not going to get pushed around. No offense, like a guy who's smaller stature wise. He's just a bigger guy than Damien is. So as an example,
it's just a product of we're a fairly deep team before you get all the injuries, and we are into all of the injuries, and this is just kind of what we have right now, and it's what the game state needed at the time.
One quick question: how do you feel that it was only 2?
Surprised it was 2, frankly.
Okay, this felt like last year, where you only have a certain number of guys who are playing at a level that Rod wants to play.
I mean, Damien's been playing a lot this year. Luis Garcia Sosa has been basically a starter all season. Those guys are at the level. The game just didn't need the game just didn't need them. And if they're coming off of injury,
it's not worth risking them.
It's not worth risking them in a game where, frankly, the Bobcats have been this way forever, and
they're very physical.
They're a physical team. They go hard in challenges.
They play very direct. They have one extremely good player in Darwin Espinal who does all the technical work, and everybody else is mostly just physical or a lot of running.
I actually think Bobcats are a little different this year. I would have agreed with that for last year and then the year before, but Bobcats they really didn't play direct. They did not go in the air a lot. They were playing Darwin Espinal as a center forward for the first half. And I think a lot of the reason behind that was to have their best player in the center of the field when they got on the break. They were able to have somebody shake loose and go, you put your best player in the center of the field, kind of like Markus Nagelstad is in the center field for us. We want him around the goal when the chances come. Now, lucky for us, I thought we did a great job of handling the Bobcats as they broke forward, or when they were able to advance the ball up the field. And it wasn't until later in the game when they made a substitution to put a little bit more of a athletic kind of target forward.
They're number 10
up there. That Espinal went out to the left wing, and he was able to find more of the game there. But also he was able to find more defenders. If that meant we had bodies on him, he several times in my rewatch today, several times he was able to beat his man, 1v1 and create a little space, and there was always something else waiting for him. Rarely did it ever become dangerous when he was coming from the left wing, and that's a testament to how aware CFC was of Espinal. And
how responsible we were,
yeah, exactly.
And that's been that way all season. We've been
correct.
We talked about
this is literally no change. You've watched this game before.
Yeah, I agree with that. Except Darwin Espinal might be the best player we've played so far this year. I don't think he was that sharp
in the league.
Yeah, clearly in NISA. Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the goal, Matthew. So first of all, this is what I started to say a minute ago. I rewatched the goal and I rewatched the lead up to the goal. So first of all, that wall starts out at 10 yards or whatever the referee marched out. They move a yard and a half or 2 yards forward, making it much more difficult to get up and down. And then Markus, the ball for Markus is not even a yard out. It's so close to the line.
Yeah.
And he didn't go beside the wall. He went up and over the wall. That is such a good free kick. That is basically unsavable unless you're just standing there already. But you may not see it in enough time anyway because it's so close. I was so shocked he was able to get it up and down. And that is one of those...
I don't think it ever actually came down. If you look at it, he puts it up.
It's inches above the head of
And it just kind of plateaus and just kind of keeps rising up and up. That thing never comes down.
Yeah, but it's never that high.
No, what I'm saying is this is a freaking incredible free kick. That thing does not come... he decided because there was just so little space to work with that he was going to hit it grazing someone's hair,
and they did,
just keep on going towards the roof.
And it did look like he took it a little bit quickly on the countdown or whatever else, so that they didn't jump. I don't know if that was truly what he was trying to do or just what happened, but they don't jump.
I missed it one of the first times because there was our little argy bargy little conversation. Maryland players were surrounding the referee. It takes a while for the free kick to actually start, and then once everyone settles down and gets into positions, he takes it really quick. You're right about that.
And they surrounded the referee like a bunch of freaking complainers. It was annoying. Okay, so Markus, unbelievable free kick.
On a foul he earned, by the way.
Yep, it was fantastic. I just couldn't believe he got it up and down. I told him as much after the game when I saw him at the bar. Just unbelievable. And it's one of those, and it'll come to one of my three key takeaways, which I guess I'll go ahead and do right now. Look, defensively, the players are making plays and not allowing big chances overall. You've already said that, and that's just been the case all year. Offensively, sometimes you just need to have the best player on the field. Markus versus Flower City away. Markus here at home. Taylor against Flower City at home, or maybe that was away. Yeah, Flower City at home, sorry. And then Tolly against Savannah. Sometimes by that I mean sometimes great, really good players just make really good plays.
Yeah.
And that has not been the story of our season, I would say, because I think we've been... that's a little bit too oversimplified, but offensively so far, that has been the biggest continuing narrative, is that in each game, a player has been just good enough to make an individual play. And it's nice to have that.
Yeah.
It's just really, really nice to have. So that's one of my key takeaways.
I mean, that's borderline my second point here. And like, I'll go ahead and say it. Like, you don't have to play perfect matches. You just need quality when it matters, both in the defensive third and the final third. Yeah. Whether it's a great free kick or like an unbelievable header, or player like,
or Aiden Bowers off the line,
or like juking a guy 3 times, like Taylor Gray has done on numerous occasions to earn penalties. Like, you just need players to make plays. And I thought our, if you look back to last year, I thought like a lot of our play was very, very team oriented. And I think that's good. And that's something that I'm waiting for this year.
Offensively, you mean?
Offensively to develop. Or defensive has been very team oriented this year. Don't get me wrong.
And I think we have been,
but there wasn't a ton of like just individual. I'm better than you. I'm taking this moment. I'm doing things.
Offensively, we were better than the sum of our parts because of the system last year.
And this year, I think it's obvious that we have not hit the heights that we're looking for and that we're hoping for a third of the way through the season.
But in those moments, you need the players to just make the plays.
But players are just making plays.
Yeah,
and not like a ton, but like
I do.
Quality shows up. And the difference between CFC and the rest of the league right now, especially in the league table, is like there's just a little bit of higher end quality that's making plays, and that's really the difference in a lot of these games, and it's why we're sitting on 20 points after 8 games.
So let's just go straight to our three key takeaways. I'll go to my first one, and I have a version of what you've already said. We are grinding out games offensively, not necessarily defensively.
Yeah.
So as teams get tired of pressing us and running in the midfield, and this is happening around the 60th minute in a lot of games, we are finally starting to get numbers forward, and then we become dangerous. So something I've complained about on this podcast or pointed out is that sometimes we are just one winger against 2 defenders. And too often in the first half of most of these games, it is one winger against 2 defenders. And outside of Taylor doing magic, this season, we have not, that is not, and that, by the way, that's just a bad idea as far as like, if your offense is going to be one guy beats 3 guys, like that's not a good plan. And I'm not saying that is our plan. I'm saying that's been the outcomes thus far. And then towards the 60th minute, sometimes the 70th minute, we are starting to get our guys up the field in numbers, just like we were last year with triangles and 2-on-2 or 3s-on-2s. And then we start getting some waves of pressure and some of us running downhill. And then we get multiple chances in the 60s. Usually in the 60th minute, including this game, we start getting multiple chances or multiple half chances or multiple, if that ball was just a little bit better, chances that we don't get in the first half. So I think we're really grinding down games offensively because we're waiting for that. And I don't think I agree with grinding down teams defensively because we're just really good defensively. But we're not allowing any goals. And then as the offense gets a little bit of space, as teams can't press us anymore, or as they can't overrun us, or whatever else, as time goes on, then we get through the grinding part of the game offensively, where we're just, trying to get forward, and then we get our waves and we start playing with some of our principles. And the good part I think that we're starting to see is that each game we are getting incrementally more dangerous on those. It's not perfectly linear, but we are getting dangerous moments. We are getting the 3-on-2s. We are getting the 4-on-2s. We are getting we had several plays where it was bing, 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 down the line, cut back that just missed somebody's head or whatever else. Like we had some plays that were getting more and more dangerous. There is some there's progress there. And I am feeling better than I was maybe 3 or 4 games ago, which we said it's not a good idea to take stock 3 games in. But
yeah.
I'm feeling better about the kind of grinding out is starting to become less grindy, I think. And a little bit more like once the game starts opening up, we're starting to be dangerous in a systematic way. We're not there yet, to be clear. But I think there's still a little bit of progress on that front.
I think what you're seeing is a lot of times is teams are just getting tired. Because I don't think they're coming out and trying to press and running around and then getting tired legs. I think what we're doing, because most teams are sitting in a mid block trying to compress all the lines together, force us to play through or over the top and or whatever. And I think a lot of it, what it is we're just holding on to the ball for such large periods of the game and for large portions of the game itself that they're getting mentally tired of having to be conscious of where every single person is, where they're moving, where the interchanges are happening. And I think that's opening up pockets of space in the middle that's allowing us to then play the ball through lines and gaps and then start getting movement going in the right direction. And I think it's more of a mental thing than it is a physical thing.
So I want to be clear.
It's harder. It is harder defensively. in terms of like the physicality. It is harder to play defense than offense. You have to be in unbelievable shape to play 90 minutes of just defense. Even if you're not pressing, you're setting up in a mid block, and you're just trying to like cut out passing lanes, which is a lot of teams are doing with us right now. And number one, I think we're getting better at like the flow of the game. And you got to remember, like, there are a lot of new players, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And while that's been really nice in terms of like the upgrade in terms of defensive quality, it does take time for those same players to truly feel comfortable with the offense.
Oh, you've seen it.
And those defensive players are the ones that are engineering all of this offense from the start.
So I'll change what I said, or I'll amend what I said. Teams are not pressing us in necessarily a high press, but almost everybody is pressing that first pass. The thing that Flower City did that first game, everybody is trying to recreate that. Everybody is letting some version of the center backs have to beat us.
Yeah,
and they are pressing that first pass. I mean, it is a mid block, but they are pushing hard on those first. And so in the midfield, the game is physical and fast and even sloppy at times because like it's so much running from those. And call it mental fatigue, call it physical fatigue. I'm cool with either one. Regardless, teams are not able to keep that up or they have not been able to keep that up into the second half.
Yeah.
They're able to keep it up until the 50th, 60th, 70th minute, whatever it is. But at some point, they're starting to crack. And when they start to crack, we're getting the numbers forward. We're seeing the things that we saw last year. And do I want us to be able to do it earlier on in the game? Of course I do. But I do think we're seeing little bits of whatever. And we're seeing our defenders not go long, our midfielders not go long as quickly. I mentioned I thought we were dumping it too often a few games ago. I think you saw a much better balance of patience. And then once we got that goal, they were fucked because we did the same thing in the Albion game as well. We were then so patient that we made them come out and we made them chase.
And it makes us more dangerous.
And it makes us so much because we can go back between, I mean, look, Tolley and Bowers are two new center backs to this system. They are starting to get that bounce the ball back and forth, in and out, around, bounce it to Jean. So like that circular thing where you're chasing and it opens up, we're getting that.
Here's an interesting thing with Bobcats though. We had that goal and then we would have the ball and they really wouldn't push that hard. Like trying to pass and like have us move the ball, try to like, turn us over, whatever. Like teams would do when you're down a goal. They weren't really trying hard to do that. And I wonder, like, were they trying to almost just keep the same game plan and just hope that we coughed it up off of one of those passes?
Maybe, but
because they were not like Bobcats, when they had possession, like, they're not bad. They've got some decent players. They're able to play a little bit, and they were able to advance the ball forward. Was it ever dangerous? No, it wasn't, truly. But it was almost like I kept on my rewatch. I kept looking at the second half, and I kind of remembered this in live time at the end of a long day. They never number one never seemed like scoring. And they looked themselves like they knew they were never scoring. And it was almost like, well, if we keep this to a 1-goal game, like, that's good job. Like 1-0 at Chattanooga is not terrible. 2-0 at Chattanooga, we don't really want that. Like, they were playing the goal difference game already. It was interesting.
So I don't fully agree, but I do think some of the Rod said that you never give them hope. I think that was part of it. And you tell them a little bit broken, but look, they brought number 10 in and he immediately actually pressed the center backs. And then they did get bypassed and we did get into space some. And yeah, I just think that it still opened up some, whether it was because they were defeated or because we had, because we still, after the 60th minute, after we scored, started getting space and started getting numbers. Absolutely. And it's not just space, it's numbers. Because sometimes you have space, but you don't have the numbers there. And we had the numbers. So we have about 6 minutes left, before you have to take a work call. So let me finish my last point and I'll give you your 3 points and we'll get done with this because, it's a good win. And I don't think we have to belabor too many points. Sloppy, nervy moments happen. This is my third point. Jean versus Albion, where he almost coughs it up in the box. Prepelica versus Maryland, where he also almost coughed it up in the box and had to slide. We got to clean that up. This is it. Look, we play with the ball so much that it is inevitable that it's going to happen. It's going to happen some. We just can't let it happen quite that close to go. And look, both times the player bailed themselves out. So like, I'm not upset. I'm not like, oh my God, what we're good. We're so lucky. We weren't lucky. It's good players making good plays and like still getting rid of that ball in the end. But we do when we play Michigan Stars, as an example, and we do when we play these better teams, even though Maryland's theoretically one of the best teams, got to clean it up a little bit. And I think we're going to have mistakes, but we just got to make sure in those high leverage situations, we don't have the mistake in the high leverage situation. We have the mistake a few yards up the field so that turnover doesn't result in a one-on-one with the goalkeeper. And neither one did, to be clear, but both of those moments were just slight lapses of attention. And as the season goes forward, and as we get better and better at holding the ball, I do think we will get better and better at staying focused longer and in not having that moment, in those sloppy and nervy moments. And I'm glad that neither one of those resulted in a goal, obviously.
Yeah. That's good stuff there.
All right, Matthew, finish your 3 up, and then let's
well,
get out
so
of here.
I mentioned you don't have to play perfect matches, but you just need quality where it matters, and I think that's absolutely true for this game. I also mentioned before, if you've seen one match in the league this year for CFC, you've kind of seen them all. A lot of these, I mean, they fall into the Albion and Gold Star or the Savannah, Flower City, Maryland, Michigan.
You
kind
either
of camps.
you either try to play with us,
You play with us and you die, or you don't play with us and
you lose 1 or 2-0.
You're still going to give up something. Probably
You're going to generate, if you try to play with us, you might generate something. You probably won't generate any huge chances, but you might generate something. If you just try to stay back and hope to catch us on the break, you're not going to generate a single chance.
Yeah, and that's going to be
the
interesting
only
to see.
team that can do that is the Michigan Stars right now, whose defense seems to be good enough to make it tough for us.
And honestly, like, they didn't scare us at all, and we were coming off like literal dead bodies, 120 minutes.
No, we just didn't get a goal in that game. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, so and we'll see how this changes. Like, we're 8 matches into 24. Like, we're a third of the way through the regular season. We have not played. We haven't played LA Force yet. We haven't played Club de Leon yet. Like, we'll see how this changes over time. But my third key point, and I think this is important because we talked about substitutions a little bit. We talked about them in the last podcast. We did the review of Albion. We talked about it a little bit at the top here. That was 3 matches in 8 days.
It's maybe the thinnest we've been all season.
With we are thin. Like, we are thinnest of the thin right now.
Which is why I asked you so many questions about the substitutes earlier.
And we did not. I mean, I could go back through and look at the. I'm not going to the minutes right now, but like, not a lot of minutes off the bench in any of those 3 games total.
And the hardest the number 2 in the table came at the end of the 3 days.
Yeah,
3 games, excuse me.
And you've got 4 goals scored, no goals conceded, 3 wins, 9 points.
How many goals have we conceded from the run of play this year in NISA games, Matthew?
From the run of play, we've given up nothing.
1 PK, dubious at best.
Yeah, and we'll go back further. Like, you've got 1 goal given up and you've got 2 additional goals total given up in during the season. You've got the one against Des Moines, which is just a very, very stupid giveaway, and that's just players that were still learning the system, giving away something incredibly dumb, and allowing an odd man rush in the second half of the Des Moines game. And you've got an absolute worldy shot cross, unreal ball that Prosper Chasm hit for Birmingham. And that's it. Now, have we given up a couple of bigger chances? Yeah, we have. But that's what goalkeeping is for, and that's what good defenders are for, and the teams work together really, really well. Like, this is incredibly good defending, and hopefully we get some players back. Damian, Luis, hopefully they're ready to go by next weekend with the return match against Maryland Bobcats. It's never good to play a team 2 games in a row, but that's just the way the calendar falls. Hopefully we get Taylor back at some point. Hopefully
we get Ethan Corin back at some point soon.
Yeah, L.A. Hymas as well.
Hymas, yes. Jonathan Partita is out for the whole season, unfortunately.
Yeah, so hopefully you get a couple of these extra players back, and you can start to really you gin up the offense and get some free flowing, attacking, exciting football again, which we've come to kind of expect and hope from Rod Underwood coach teams. But for now, let's just keep grinding out games and winning, baby.
For now, what we got is a Rod Underwood constructed defensive juggernaut. Matthew, thank you for joining me here today. We will be back here shortly with a women's review of the 7-0 win. Good vibes all around. Listeners, thank you for listening.